Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope your day and your week are off to a fantastic start. Got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 4 MLB player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. By the way, guys, this is it. We have our undivided attention now to Major League Baseball until around September, when the NFL and college football start. Shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder for winning the NBA championship last night. Sucks for the Pacers with the Halliburton injury, whatever. It would have been very interesting to see what would have happened had Halliburton not gotten hurt, but it is what it is. The NBA is officially in the rearview mirror now. Again, all of our undivided attention is now 100% on the MLB. And with that being said, we got 4 fresh, new, great player props to share with you guys in today's video. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, guys, jumping right into the outlier screen. Our first player prop in today's video comes from the Braves-Mets game, 7:10 p.m. first pitch. We've got Ronald Acuna Jr. over 1.5 total bases. We're grabbing it for minus 115 over on ESPN Bet. And if this player prop sounds familiar, it's because we did give this out on Saturday, and it did cash as part of our Acuna giveaway. Decided to do a little gift card giveaway for Saturday's video if that player prop hit, and I'm a man of my word, so here we go. For Alex K-KN7VH, Acuna Matata took my attention. You win the free $20 Amazon gift card giveaway. Please DM me on Instagram at TASOSPicks. That's at TASOSPicks on Instagram, so I can go ahead and get you that Amazon gift card. We'll be doing giveaways all MLB season long, so if you didn't win on Saturday, don't worry. Plenty of more opportunities throughout the rest of the MLB season. But yeah, we're literally just running the same player prop back because why not? It worked on Saturday, and the data is still very strong going into today's video. So Ronald Acuna Jr. over 1.5 total bases. The data is very strong here. 7 of his last 10 games. There's that Saturday game where he had 3 total bases. 7 of his last 10 he's cashed the over. He's averaging 2.9 total bases per game over his last 10 games. So really solid numbers there. If we go ahead and stretch the data out to the entire season view, a 63% hit rate on the season for Ronald Acuna. Now, he's only played 27 games this year, so a much smaller sample size than some other players, but in those 27 games, he's cashed the over in 17 out of 27, and he's averaging 2.48 total bases per game this year. Overall, the data is pretty solid. However, if you do look at the head-to-head data, it's not as strong. Just 3 of his last 9 matchups with the New York Mets, he's cashed the over. That's, of course, a 33% hit rate, averaging 1.33 total bases per game across the last 9 matchups with New York. Now, they've played 3 times so far this year. He's cashed the over in 1 of those 3 games. Just last week, they played in a 3-game series. He did have 4 total bases here on June 18th, but on June 19th and June 17th, he failed to cash the over. The rest of the data, though, is strong enough to kind of outbalance or outweigh the negative data from the head-to-head numbers. Also, they have the insight provided by Outlier. By the way, shout out to Outlier, the sponsor of today's video. We do offer a special link down below in the description that gives you guys a 7-day free trial to go ahead and check it out for yourself. Outlier is the best sports betting tool on the market. It's the best that you can buy, and you're getting it for free for 7 days. Let's check it out. Everything you see right now on this page is brought to you by Outlier. There's so many extra tabs, insights, popular bets, individual games, props, EV+, boosts, arbitrage betting, middle bet. I mean, there's so much more, and I'm only giving you guys a little taste of what it can provide. So the only way to check it out is to check it out for yourself. So go ahead, check it out. Link down below in the description. 7-day free trial. Special thank you to Outlier for sponsoring today's video. But yeah, the insight provided by Outlier, Ronald Acuna Jr. has exceeded 1.5 bases in 6 straight games on the road, and he's averaging 3.5 bases per game across the last 6 road games. That's, of course, a 100% hit rate, but really solid data on the road of late for Ronald Acuna. Now, jumping on over to the MLB dashboard on GuyBostonSports.com, we can look at some more of the recent numbers when it comes to Ronald Acuna. And obviously, the numbers have been pretty fantastic over the last 30 games. Versus right-handed pitchers, he's batting .440, an unbelievable mark with a 1.267 OPS versus right-handed pitchers. over the last 30 games. So phenomenal numbers there for Acuna, really hitting the ball well, especially off of right-handed pitchers. And if we look over here to the left side of the screen, his matchup versus Paul Blackburn of the New York Mets, if we scroll down below here, you'll see versus right-handed hitters like Ronald Acuna, it has not been very good for him this year. 333 batting average allowed. Most of his numbers are in the red, and the ones that aren't in the red are still in the yellow or orange range, which of course is a bad thing. So it's a really solid matchup here. If we go back over to the outlier, we have the overall splits here. And again, Ronald Acuna, 396 batting average, 449 versus right-handed pitchers overall this year. Really solid numbers for him. And again, Paul Blackburn versus right-handed batters, kind of reiterating a lot of stuff we just saw, but really good. Also, that 50% extra base hit percentage, very important there when it comes to a total base prop. He may only need one hit to go ahead and cash this over. And you see here Ronald Acuna versus Paul Blackburn, 4 plate appearances. He's got 1 hit, 4 total bases, which means the 1 hit he's got off of him is a home run. So really solid numbers here, really solid player prop to kick off today's video. All right, guys, our second player prop in today's video, we're moving on to the Pirates-Brewers game. 7:40 p.m. first pitch. We got Spencer Horwitz of the Pittsburgh Pirates over half a total base. We're grabbing this one for minus 150 over on ESPN Bet or BetMGM. Of course, it's available on multiple sports books for varying odds. Make sure, guys, as always, to shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. Data is pretty strong in this player prop, too. 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 1.5 total bases per game over the last 10 games. He's coming off a very solid performance just yesterday with 5 total bases against the Texas Rangers and what was an 8-3 win for the Pirates. And the further along you go ahead and stretch the data out, it's still pretty solid. 75% hit rate over his last 20 games, averaging 1.25 total bases per game over his last 20. The overall data for the entire 2025 season, granted, he's only played 30 games, but in those 30 games, a 63% hit rate, averaging 1.23 total bases per game this year. All we need him to do is hit his average, and we have a good cash in our hands here. And the head-to-head data is pretty strong as well. 5 of his last 7 matchups with Milwaukee, he's cashed the over. That's a 71% hit rate, averaging 2.29 total bases per game across the last 7 matchups with Milwaukee. They played 4 times so far this year, a 50% hit rate, 2 out of 4 matchups. He's cashed the over, not too bad. And this data point is very, very solid. The insight provided by Outlier, Spencer Horwitz has exceeded half a base in 10 straight games on the road. That's, of course, a 100% hit rate over his last 10 road games. And Horwitz is averaging 1.3 total bases per game across those last 10 road games. So really good numbers, a lot of green across the board here for Spencer Horwitz. Looking down below at the individual matchup. Now, Horwitz this year, we're looking at the overall data. In a minute, we'll jump over to Guy Boston Sports, the dashboard, and we'll look at the more recent numbers for Spencer Horwitz. But batting .245 overall this year with a .325 BABIP, 34.6% extra base hit percentage. Again, pretty solid. Not great, but not bad either. But versus right-handed pitchers, you do see some nice increases there. His batting average, his BABIP, his ISO, they all do increase. The extra base hit percentage does drop a little bit, but obviously the line is only half a base. So we're not too concerned with extra base hits when it comes to this individual player prop. Now looking at Chad Patrick, the pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, overall 3.50 ERA, 2.50 batting average allowed, 3.85 slugging, pretty good for us. Versus left-handed batters, you do see some numbers decrease and some numbers increase. The ERA drops, the slugging percentage drops, but the batting average allowed does increase to 271. And again, all we need is a single here from Spencer Horwitz, and he cashes the over. And jumping over back to the dashboard here, again, last 30 games. Now, granted, he's only played 30 games, so this basically is the data I just showed you guys, so we don't have to go too much into it. But 275 batting average versus right-handed pitchers with a 736 OPS. The only thing that's a little concerning, if we go back here to Guy Boston Sports, is the fact that looking at the pitching matchup here, Chad Patrick uses the cutter at 44.2% pitch rate. So he uses the cutter a lot. Versus the cutter, now granted, only 14 plate appearances, smaller sample size. He only has a 271 WOBA. Now his overall WOBA on the year is 295. So it's not too much of a difference. It's definitely worse. He's not as good. The strikeout percentage obviously goes higher as well. That's the one area where the one negative I can highlight with this player prop. However, his second most utilized pitch, the fastball, 352. So he's actually hitting very well. And then the sinker, that's his worst, and that's his third most used pitch. So the pitching stuff is a little concerning. That's the only area with this player prop I see negative, but everything else points to this being a really solid player prop. All we need is a single, and he cashes the over. Oh, and one last point, Milwaukee, their bullpen, they rank bottom 10 or at least bottom half of the league in most of these key categories here. Remember, with most of these guys, you're only going to get 2 at best, 3 at bats versus the starter, depending on how the starter goes. So you're going to have at least 1 or 2 at bats against the bullpen. So even if the Chad Patrick matchup doesn't work out for Spencer Horwitz, it should work out in terms of his matchup versus the Brewers bullpen. So either way, solid player prop. All right, guys, our third player prop in today's video, we have Cubs Cardinals, 7:45 p.m. first pitch. We have Pete Crow Armstrong of the Cubs under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We're grabbing this for -120. Over on BetMGM, but again, it's available on multiple sports books for varying odds. Now, I'll be honest, the trend data, the overall, it's okay / not great, but this is all about the matchup to me more than the data here, which is happening sometimes with these player props. Sometimes if the matchup is sweet enough, you don't necessarily need the best, previous pattern or trend data to go off of. Now, the last 10 games is not bad. 60% hit rate, averaging 2 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10. He's had a couple of big games here and there. And overall this season, just a 42% hit rate on this under. He's averaging 2.59 hits, runs, RBIs per game this year. So like I said, the data on this one, it's not very good. Although last 20 games, 50% hit rate. So it's, it's just, I'm going to be very transparent. The data's not good. So instead of going on and on and on about the negatives of this player prop, let's just jump into why I like the player prop. And the big reason here is look at this numbers over the last 30 games. For Pete Crow Armstrong here versus left-handed pitchers, he's batting 129, abysmal numbers over the last 30 games with a 504 OPS versus left-handed pitchers, again, over the last 30 games. So really, really not good there. So really rough numbers versus left-handed pitchers for Pete Crow Armstrong. And then looking at Matthew Liberatore, the pitcher for the Cardinals, look at his numbers versus left-handed hitters, which, by the way, Pete Crow Armstrong is a left-handed batter. Whip, all in the green. The only thing that's not is the walk rate. But look at the batting average allowed, just 190. The FIP, the XFIP, strikeout rate, everything is very, very high. And actually, if you go down below here to the overall numbers, it kind of reiterates that. Overall, even the last 30 games is really, really solid. Pete Crow Armstrong overall this year has struggled versus left-handed pitchers. 183 batting average on the year with a 70.5 WRC+. So even though the recent data shows that he's been struggling all year long versus left-handed pitchers. And again, like we already mentioned, Matthew Liberatore, ERA, batting average, all of his numbers are very, very low against left-handed batters. Much smaller sample size than versus right-handed batters? Absolutely, but he's had a lot of success when pitching against left-handed batters this season. And they've had 2 plate appearances since 2018, and he did nothing against Matthew Liberatore. 0 hits, 0 runs, and 0 RBIs. Like I said, if we go back up here, the overall data, it's not strong. Even the head-to-head data, just 4 of his last 9 matchups versus St. Louis. He's cashed the under. Granted, this is all from last year. There's no recent data really to go off of. So, I don't know if I would put a full unit on this one, maybe 3/4 of a unit. I think the matchup is very, very strong here, that it transcends the bad data. But that's obviously up for you guys to decide. I'm just here to give you guys the information and why I like the player props. It's up to you to go ahead and make the conscious choice if you want to go ahead and tail me or fade me or do nothing. So I do like this player prop, though. I think the matchup is definitely worth taking a look at. That's our third player prop in today's video. All right, guys, our fourth and final player prop in today's video, we have Nationals, Padres, 9:40 p.m. first pitch. We're going Luis Garcia Jr. of the Nationals over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We're grabbing that for -125 over on DraftKings. But one more time, it's available on a number of different sports books for varying odds. So make sure to go ahead and shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. A little bit of a palate cleanser after that last player prop. The data is much better here in this one. 7 of his last 10 games, including 5 of his last 6. He's cashed the over, averaging 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. And you go ahead and stretch the numbers out to the last 20. 65% hit rate, averaging 2.4 hits, runs, RBIs per game. And then the overall season data, pretty solid. 54% hit rate on the year, 37 out of 69. Pause for applause. 69 games played this year. He's cashed the over, averaging 1.9 hits, runs, RBIs per game this season. Now, the head-to-head numbers, not as good, but again, similar to the last player prop, we have nothing to go off of from this year. This is all last year's data, but just 2 of his last 6 matchups with San Diego, he's cashed the over, averaging 1.17 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 6 matchups with the Padres. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Luis Garcia Jr. has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 5 straight games on the road, averaging 3.2 hits, runs, RBIs per game across his last 5 road games, including last night versus the Dodgers. Had a very solid game on the road, 2 hits, 2 runs, and an RBI. And scrolling down below here, guys, the matchup data is also very solid. Luis Garcia versus Stephen Kolek of the Padres. Just one plate appearance, so very small sample size, but he did have a hit off of him in that one plate appearance. So not much to go off of, but they have faced at least once in the past. Luis Garcia Jr., 271 batting average, 104.5 WRC plus on the year. Versus right-handed pitchers, you do see some increases there, right? 290 batting average, 119.3 WRC plus, some steady increases. And looking at Stephen Kolek, having an okay year, I'll be generous, okay. But versus left-handed batters, you do see the increase in his numbers. The ERA, massive jump, batting average allowed, home runs per 9, WOBA, all significant increases when facing off with left-handed batters like Luis Garcia. And one more time, jumping over the GuyBostonSports.com dashboard to get a little more of a narrow view of this player prop. Luis Garcia, over the last 30 games, his batting average versus right-handed pitchers, 351 with a 933 OPS. So the overall numbers, he's batting 290, which is obviously very solid, but over the last 30 games, 351. So he's even better versus right-handed pitchers over the last 30 games. And then going back over to Stephen Kolek, his numbers versus left-handed hitters, they're just not very good. So it's a very solid matchup here for Luis Garcia, and that's our fourth and final player prop in today's video. All right, guys, those are all 4 picks in today's MLB slate. We just passed the 16-minute mark in the video. So if you did make it to the end of the video today, please comment 16. Let me know who stuck around all the way to the very end. As always, guys, we appreciate those who watch through each and every single video, put a lot of hard work, sweat, and tears into these videos. So when you do stick around and watch all the way through, it truly does mean a lot. That is it for me today, guys. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. I'll be back tomorrow with another MLB player prop video, but until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Monday. Let's have a good week. The cold streak is, I don't want to say it's over, but we definitely had a better week last week than we've had in recent weeks. So let's keep building on that momentum and have a very strong week this week. Until tomorrow, guys, hope you're all winners. Let's go ahead and make some money.